take a moment. Close your eyes and listen with your soul wide open. This isn't just another book about positive thinking. This is a hidden manuscript by Joseph Murphy, where he reveals how he discovered the power of the subconscious mind. Because honestly, this message isn't for everyone. It's for those who've tried everything but still feel stuck, carrying invisible blocks, fears disguised as logic, guilt that undermines faith, and that inner voice that asks, "Why isn't this working for me?" This book answers that and so much more. You won't find just theory here. You'll find revelation. A personal, direct, and powerful step-by-step guide to understanding how your subconscious mind is way more than just a mental filing cabinet. It's the channel through which God creates your life. Joseph Murphy said this many times, but in this manuscript, he says it like never before. Raw, honest, and fearless. Just pure truth. As you read these chapters, you'll discover why your smallest thoughts shape your world. How your subconscious responds to every emotion, not every word. What invisible mistakes block your ability to manifest. And how to unlock the creative power that's been waiting inside you all along. Pay attention. Feel every phrase. And if you can, come back to it more than once. Because between each line, there are hidden codes designed to awaken something inside you. Joseph Murphy isn't just speaking from the past. He's speaking from within you. I remember one winter night in my study in New York. The city was covered in snow, quiet under a blanket of white, while I sat by the fireplace watching the flames dance, almost like they had their own intelligence. That's when it hit me with crystal clear clarity. We're not alone inside ourselves. There's a guardian, a silent observer, recording every thought, every feeling, every whispered word in the quiet corners of our mind. I've spent decades studying this, and now I'm ready to share it with you as a personal confession. This isn't some academic theory. It's a revelation about a power we all have but few really understand. The subconscious mind. A vast ocean beneath the small island of our conscious awareness. Most people don't realize that 95% of what we do, our actions, reactions, decisions, comes not from our conscious mind, but from this powerful inner guardian. As I write this, I feel the weight of responsibility to share what I've learned from watching thousands of lives transformed by understanding this simple truth. The subconscious mind is like a fertile garden that doesn't judge the seeds it's given. It doesn't debate or reason. It just accepts and grows whatever you plant there. This is the secret ancient sages knew, and what modern science is only just beginning to recognize. Your repeated thoughts, charged with emotion, are direct commands to this inner guardian. Let me tell you something I've never shared in my public talks. Back in 1942, I visited a woman with advanced tuberculosis. Doctors had given up on her. She looked pale as wax, worn down by hopelessness. Sitting by her bedside, I took her hand and spoke, not to her, but to her silent guardian. For hours, I whispered images of healthy lungs, full breath, and renewed life. I asked her to imagine divine perfection flowing through every cell as she slept. 3 months later, the doctors were stunned. The X-rays showed remarkable improvement. 6 months after that, she was declared fully healed. A miracle? No, just the natural law of her subconscious mind responding to new programming. Here's what most people don't get. Your subconscious controls every function in your body. Every heartbeat, breath, biochemical process. But it doesn't stop there. It also shapes your experiences, drawing in people and situations that match your inner programming, and it shapes how you see reality itself. Take a moment to look at your life. Your relationships, finances, health, fears, and joys. None of it is random. It's a mirror of what your silent guardian believes to be true about you and the world. If you truly believe life is a constant struggle, your subconscious will arrange events and people to confirm that belief. But if you nurture the idea that you deserve abundance and love, this same power will work tirelessly to bring that to you. Over the years, I discovered the subconscious doesn't distinguish between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. This is the golden key that few know and even fewer use. When you intensely visualize a fulfilled desire, pouring real emotion into that mental picture, your subconscious takes it as an order and starts working around the clock to make it happen. One night, staring up at the stars in my garden, I had a revelation that changed everything. The subconscious isn't just a part of us. It's our link to the infinite, to the universal intelligence some call God. It's the bridge between what we see and what we don't, between human and divine. That's why I believe real prayer isn't asking for something. It's a deep feeling of gratitude for what you already have. When you pray like that, you're not begging for something outside of you. You're activating the creative power within your own subconscious. The mind running your life isn't the one analyzing these words. It's the one recording your deepest beliefs. Many people live trapped in tough situations without realizing they're prisoners of their own internal programming. They've handed control over to a guardian who just follows orders, many of them set during childhood or moments of emotional vulnerability. I remember a young businessman who came to me, desperate because he couldn't get ahead financially. "I've tried everything," he said. In our talks, we found that as a kid he'd constantly heard his mother say, "Money is the root of all evil, and the rich always take advantage of the poor." Those simple phrases, repeated over the years, became commands to his subconscious, and so his inner guardian sabotaged every chance for wealth. For weeks, we worked on rewriting those beliefs. I taught him to speak to his subconscious just before sleep. That magical moment when the conscious mind relaxes and the doors to the inner temple open. A year later, his business was thriving like never before. Here's the essential truth you need to know. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You're their creator through your dominant thought patterns. Your subconscious mind, the silent guardian, exists only to serve you but needs clear, emotional instructions. Think of your subconscious as an infinite ocean and your conscious mind as just a drop on its surface. True power isn't about forcing change from your limited conscious view. It's about aligning both minds with the same goal. When you do, no obstacle stands a chance. Now, don't confuse this knowledge with some kind of mystical fantasy. This is pure science. It's the law of your own mind. Just like electricity flows according to exact principles, so does your subconscious. It's not about faith, but about applying it correctly. And here's something I've noticed over and over. The silent guardian responds way more to your feelings than to your words or thoughts. You can say positive affirmations 1,000 times, but if inside you feel fear or doubt, that's the emotion that will take control. That's why the real skill is in creating and holding on to the feeling of your fulfilled desire until that new emotion is deeply engraved in your being. At the end of my days, my biggest hope is that you understand you live surrounded by an infinite power waiting for your commands. It's not outside of you, it's deep within your own mind. The silent guardian never sleeps, never rests, never judges. It just creates based on your most deeply held beliefs. As I finish these pages under the fading light of my lamp, I feel like I've shared with you the most powerful secret of all. Now the choice is yours. Will you keep letting random, often limiting programs run your life? Or will you take control and become the conscious director of that inner guardian that can bring you perfect health, prosperity, and harmony? The answer is in your hands. Remember, The best time to reprogram your subconscious is just before you fall asleep. That's when your conscious mind relaxes and the guardian is most open to new instructions. And it's exactly on the art of talking to your mind as you rest. That nightly ritual of transformation that I'll share more in the pages ahead. There's a sacred space between what we want and what we experience. I discovered it one autumn afternoon while walking through an ancient forest near my home. I watched leaves fall in an endless cycle of death and rebirth when it hit me. Our beliefs follow the same cycle. The old ones fall away, new ones take their place, and through that process, our whole life changes. The secret to change isn't found in philosophy books or scientific theories. It's in that sacred space between conscious and subconscious, where beliefs get stamped like seals on hot wax. For years I've watched this process with deep respect and amazement, because this is where the true secret of human transformation lives. What most people don't realize is that beliefs aren't just passing thoughts, they're living structures inside us. Every belief you hold about yourself, others, or the world has been etched into your subconscious over years of repetition, emotional experiences, or sudden moments of vulnerability. Your silent guardian, the subconscious, doesn't question these beliefs. It just accepts them as absolute truth and builds your reality around them. Let me share something I've kept quiet for years. In 1938, I met a brilliant mathematician living in a small room barely covering his basic needs. Despite his genius, I was curious about this contradiction and talked with him at length until I uncovered the root of his limitation. When he was 7, his father angrily told him, "You'll be a scholar but die poor like all great thinkers." That one phrase, spoken with intense emotion by a figure of authority, was burned into his subconscious like an unbreakable law. For 6 months, we worked together to dissolve that belief. Each night before sleep, I had him repeat with deep feeling, "Wisdom and abundance flow together in my life. My knowledge is valued and generously rewarded." The change was slow but unstoppable. 2 years later, he had multiplied his income and was living in a beautiful house overlooking the sea. This story shows an important truth. Beliefs get recorded mainly in 3 ways. First, through constant repetition. What you hear or tell yourself repeatedly becomes a command for your subconscious. Second, through intense emotional experiences, especially during childhood and adolescence. Third, through authority, when words come from someone you respect or fear. The power of repetition is amazing. I've seen people transform their health, relationships, and wealth just by changing the phrases they say every day. But you have to understand, it's not just mechanical repetition that creates change. It's the emotion and conviction behind those words that open the secret door of the subconscious. One night, looking up at the stars from my study balcony, I had a deep realization. Our beliefs are like constellations in the sky of our mind. Some are ancestral, passed down through generations. Others are personal, formed through our own experiences. But every single one can be redrawn if we know the right technique. Here's a secret few people know. The subconscious is most open when the conscious mind is relaxed or deeply focused. It's like the door between the 2 minds swings wide open. That's why the moments before sleep and right after waking are sacred for anyone seeking transformation. In that space between being awake and asleep, new beliefs can take root with little resistance. Another ideal time to reprogram the subconscious is during deep meditation. When your thoughts slow down and you reach inner silence, a receptive void opens up. In that space, affirmations and visualizations have even more power. It's no accident ancient mystics and sages practiced meditation. They had intuitively discovered this secret door to transformation. I remember a young artist who came to me, desperate because she couldn't fully express her talent. Every time she tried to create her masterpiece, an inner voice stopped her, telling her she wasn't good enough. Looking into her past, we found that when she was 12, an art teacher had harshly criticized one of her pieces in front of the whole class. That moment of humiliation had created a limiting belief that, 15 years later, was still blocking her creativity. I taught her to enter deep relaxation twice a day. In that calm state, she had to visualize her childhood teacher applauding her work and recognizing her talent, then see herself painting freely and confidently. At first, she resisted because the old belief was strong. But bit by bit, with consistent practice, the new image replaced the old one. 6 months later, she held her first successful exhibition. Here's a truth you need to really take to heart. Any belief, no matter how deeply ingrained, can be changed if you apply the right mental principles. The first step is to recognize the limiting beliefs that shape your life. Pay attention to your inner voice. What do you tell yourself about money, health, love, or your abilities? Those repeated thoughts are clues that reveal your core beliefs. One powerful method I've taught with great success is what I call having a conscious conversation with your subconscious. It means talking to your deeper mind like you would to a close friend or a trusting child, with no judgment, no frustration, just endless patience. When you uncover a limiting belief, don't fight it head on. That only gives it more power. Instead, gently introduce a new idea alongside it. For example, if you realize you believe money is hard to earn, don't waste energy denying that. Just start affirming with real feeling. I open myself to receiving abundance easily and joyfully. Repeat this new belief especially when you're relaxed and receptive, and over time the old belief will fade as the new one grows stronger. Another great approach is what I call reliving to rewrite. This means mentally going back to the moments when your limiting beliefs formed and imagining them with a different, more positive outcome. Your subconscious can't really tell the difference between a real memory and a vivid, emotional visualization. Use this to rewrite your past and change your present. I've noticed something amazing. When someone successfully changes a core belief, not only does their inner experience shift, but the outside world seems to respond as if following an unseen command. Situations change, new opportunities show up, people behave differently. It's like the universe itself is confirming your new belief. This isn't vague mysticism. It's the exact way mental laws work. Your subconscious is connected to the universal mind, that vast ocean of intelligence behind everything. When you rewrite a belief deep inside, you send out waves of change that ripple through everything you experience. One key thing many don't realize is that changing beliefs isn't just a mental process. It has to be felt deeply. Emotion is the language your subconscious understands best. So when you work on reprogramming a belief, you have to really feel it as if it's already true. Feel gratitude in advance, joy for what you're creating. These are the golden keys that unlock the door. As I wrap up these thoughts, I want to leave you with a guiding truth that shaped my life and work with thousands. You're not stuck with your current beliefs. The secret door is always there, waiting for you to learn how to open it. The locks are your old thought patterns, but the keys are in your hands. The power to rewrite your deepest beliefs is your birthright. It's the gift of constant renewal. As I write these words by the soft light of my study, I feel grateful to have discovered these principles and shared them with so many eager for change. Now I hand you this key, knowing that if you use it with consistency and faith, you'll open doors you didn't even know existed. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, remember, you're about to enter the sacred temple of your subconscious. Bring seeds of new beliefs, watered with the feelings of faith and expectation. Beyond that secret door lies a world of unlimited possibilities where your thoughts come alive. And it's there, where thought becomes reality, that you'll discover the universal mental law behind all manifestation. I still remember the first time I truly grasped the magnitude of what I'm about to share. It was a stormy night in New Orleans, where I'd been invited to speak. The thunder shook the windows while I sat quietly, watching raindrops trace patterns on the glass. Suddenly, like a lightning bolt lighting up not just the sky but my understanding, I saw clearly the law that governs all human manifestation. This law, as old as time and as steady as the stars, operates with exact precision in every part of your life. It's not a philosophy or religious idea. It's a principle as scientific as gravity, yet infinitely more powerful for those who learn to use it consciously. The universal law of the mind boils down to one simple truth. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. It doesn't judge if what you think or feel is good or bad, true or false. It just accepts as real whatever you emotionally believe and works to bring it into your experience. From years of working with thousands of people, I've seen this principle hold true time and again. The person who lives in constant fear of illness eventually shows symptoms. The one who feels deeply unworthy of love ends up sabotaging relationships. And those who hold strong belief in their success seem to attract opportunities like the universe is working in their favor. Let me share a story I've never shared publicly before. In 1947, I worked with a brilliant young doctor who had a heart condition no one could explain. After some talks, I learned that his father, also a doctor, had died of a heart attack at 42. Our young doctor was about to reach that age and had developed a deep subconscious belief that he'd suffer the same fate. I explained this mental law to him, and we started an intense reprogramming routine. Every night before sleep, he visualized his heart as perfectly healthy and beating strong. More importantly, he cultivated the feeling of absolute certainty in his long, healthy life. 6 months later, all symptoms were gone. 15 years on, he was still practicing medicine with energy and vitality. What this doctor and many others have discovered is that faith isn't some abstract or religious idea. It's a real, creative force. When I talk about faith, I mean that deep conviction that goes beyond doubt, that inner knowing that doesn't need any outside proof. It's the exact moment when thought and emotion come together to create real power. Most people don't realize that their repeated failures in certain areas of life, whether it's health, money, or relationships, are really just the result of conflicting beliefs. They say they want to be healthy, but deep down they believe they don't deserve it, or that getting sick is just part of life. They say they want financial success, but emotionally they're convinced money is scarce or only comes through struggle and sacrifice. This kind of contradiction is like giving mixed signals to a loyal assistant. Your subconscious, that silent guardian, gets confused by the mixed messages. And when your conscious desires clash with your subconscious beliefs, the subconscious always wins. One breakthrough that changed my life, and that I'm sharing here with you, is that emotion is the key factor in this process. You can repeat positive affirmations for years, but if you don't really feel them, they're like seeds scattered on concrete. One night, while I was deep in meditation on this idea, I had a clear vision. Emotion is like the sun that helps the seeds of your thoughts grow in the garden of your subconscious. Without that emotional warmth, even the best ideas stay dormant and unexpressed. Have you noticed how you vividly remember moments in your life that were full of strong emotions, whether good or bad? That's because emotion embeds those experiences deeply in your subconscious. In the same way, when you attach genuine emotion to a thought or mental image, your subconscious treats it like a top priority to act on. Let me share an exercise I've taught privately to some of my most advanced students. I call it the emotional bath. It means taking a specific idea or goal and completely immersing it in the matching emotion, like bathing an object in liquid gold. If you want perfect health, it's not enough to just say it or think about it. You've got to feel the vitality flowing through every cell of your body. If you want prosperity, you have to generate feelings of abundance and gratitude, as if you're already living it. One entrepreneur who used this method told me she spent 30 minutes every morning for weeks, feeling deep gratitude for the growth of her business, visualizing new clients and important deals, and really experiencing the joy as if it was already happening. In less than 3 months, her company doubled its income through opportunities that seemed to come out of nowhere. What's fascinating about this universal law of the mind is that it works on both conscious and unconscious levels. Many people bring negative situations into their lives without realizing these come from their constant fears and worries. Every time you obsess over something, you're actually using this law backwards, using the emotion of fear to create exactly what you don't want. An executive who came to me stressed over ongoing financial problems didn't realize he spent hours each day picturing failure and disaster. He was using his imagination and strong fear to bring those problems into reality. When he learned to shift that same emotional energy toward visions of success and abundance, his situation began to change in ways that seemed miraculous. This law works with such exactness that I think of it as divine mathematics. There are no exceptions or favorites. It doesn't matter your education, your religion, or your current situation. The universal mind responds perfectly to your emotional belief. Here's an important point most people miss. This law responds less to what you want and more to what you believe about yourself. That difference is huge. Many people try to change their life circumstances without changing how they see themselves. But the truth is, your circumstances always reflect your subconscious identity. For example, someone might say they want to be wealthy, but if deep down they see themselves as a person who always struggles financially, that identity will override their surface desires. To really change your financial life, you first have to change your self-image into someone who naturally attracts and creates abundance. After years of careful observation, I've noticed that those who experience deep transformation are the ones who learn to emotionally live their fulfilled desires in advance. They don't just picture their goals. They feel what it would be like to already have them, generating the feelings that come with success. This is the heart of the scientific prayer I teach. We don't ask for what we don't have. We give thanks for what already exists in potential and that we're attracting through mental and emotional faith. One night, while looking up at the stars from my garden, I realized another important part of this law that I rarely mention. There's a perfect timing for every manifestation. Sometimes what we want doesn't show up right away, because other parts of our life need to line up first. The subconscious, in its deep wisdom and connection to universal intelligence, knows exactly when to bring each desire into reality. Our job is to keep unshakable faith, trusting that what's planted in the subconscious will, by its own nature, manifest at the right time. I've seen people lose patience and give up just before their goals were about to come through. Like a farmer digging up seeds every day to check if they've sprouted, they interrupt the natural process with doubt and anxiety. Patience combined with unwavering faith is a key part of this law. Finally, I want to share what might be the deepest secret of all. Your relationship with the universal mind is deeply personal. You're not separate from this infinite intelligence. You're an individual expression of it. Your subconscious is the point where you connect with this all-knowing wisdom. When you understand this unity, you stop feeling alone in your efforts. You're no longer struggling to create what you want through your limited personal power. Instead, you align yourself with an infinite force working through you, expressing itself as perfect health, unlimited abundance, and harmonious relationships. There's a sacred moment each day when the veil between worlds grows almost transparent. A time when the conscious mind lets down its guard, and the doors to your inner temple swing wide open. I first discovered this one night many years ago while watching the shift between wakefulness and sleep in an ancient abbey in England during a series of lectures. In that mystical space where ordinary reality fades and we slip into sleep, there's a unique chance to rewrite the code of our existence. It's a secret so powerful and yet so simple that it's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years, shared quietly among initiates and spiritual masters. Nocturnal reprogramming. The art of consciously planting your desires in the fertile soil of the subconscious just before sleep is maybe the most powerful technique I've found in decades of studying the human mind. And now, in the quiet of these pages, I want to share its deepest secrets with you. First, you need to understand the special nature of that state between being awake and falling asleep. The ancients called it the hypnagogic state, the brief moment when the conscious mind, with all its doubts and defenses, starts to fade and the subconscious rises with full openness. In this state, suggestions take on multiplied power because they find fertile ground without the usual barriers of critical thinking. Over the years, I've noticed that people who master this skill experience transformations that seem almost miraculous to those unaware of how the mind works. What you plant in these twilight moments grows during deep sleep and slowly shows up in your daily life. Let me tell you about Richard, a brilliant architect who was crippled by a terrifying fear of public speaking that threatened his career. Every time he had to present to clients or colleagues, he would have panic attacks so severe he ended up in the hospital several times. Conventional treatments hadn't worked. I taught him the nocturnal reprogramming method. Each night in that space between wakefulness and sleep, he vividly pictured himself confidently and eloquently presenting his projects. I told him not just to see these scenes, but to really feel the emotions, security, excitement, connection with his audience. I even had him imagine the applause and congratulations to complete the sensory experience. 3 weeks later, he gave an important presentation without a panic attack for the first time as an adult. 2 months after that, he won an award for Best Presentation at an international architecture conference. His transformation wasn't gradual. It was almost instant, like flipping a hidden switch deep in his mind. The key idea is that during sleep, your subconscious processes and locks in what it took in just before you drifted off. It's no accident that the oldest spiritual traditions encouraged prayers or meditation before bed. Our ancestors intuitively understood this special gateway to inner power. Today, there's a clear method to get the most out of this technique, a protocol refined over decades of practice. As I share it with you, I ask that you approach it with respect for its powerful potential. First, prepare your mind and body. About an hour before bed, start winding down. Turn off bright lights, stay away from screens, and if you can, spend a few minutes doing deep breathing or light meditation. This sets the perfect energetic stage for reprogramming. Then, when you lie down, get comfortable in a position you can hold without moving until sleep comes, ideally on your back, palms facing up, a symbolic gesture of openness. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, imagining each exhale washing away the day's tension. Now comes the crucial step. Clearly state your desire or intention, always phrased in positive terms. Don't say what you want to stop. Say what you want to experience. Instead of, I don't want to feel anxious, say, I enjoy calm and confidence in every situation. Once you have your intention, build a vivid mental scene where you're already living it. Use all your senses. See the details, hear the sounds, feel the physical and emotional sensations as if it's happening right now. What many don't realize is that emotional intensity is what truly embeds the command in the subconscious. Visualization alone isn't enough. You've got to feel it. If your goal is perfect health, feel vitality flowing through every cell. If it's prosperity, feel abundance, security, and financial freedom as if they're real. One technique I teach my most advanced students is the complete sensory rehearsal. You run through your desired scene 5 times, focusing each time on a different sense. First sight, then sound, then touch, followed by smell and taste if it fits, and finally, all the senses together as one experience. As you do this, you'll feel your body relax deeply and your mind start to drift towards sleep. That's exactly the right moment for reprogramming. When you feel yourself about to fall asleep, condense your desire into a simple phrase or image and let it float in your awareness as you surrender to sleep. Over my life, I've noticed an interesting thing. The subconscious is especially active during the first 3 hours of sleep. That's when it processes the suggestions you gave it right before sleep. Many people report waking up with solutions, ideas, or changes when they've practiced this consistently. One thing I've never shared publicly is that there's an ideal rhythm for nocturnal reprogramming. Practicing this for cycles of 21 days seems to bring the deepest, longest-lasting results. This matches natural cycles of cellular and mental renewal. I've also noticed that the moon phases subtly affect how receptive the subconscious is. The new moon is perfect for planting new desires, while the full moon boosts the power of affirmations related to completing or manifesting what you've already started. Let me share another story that shows just how powerful this technique can be. Maria, a woman in her middle years, suffered from a chronic skin condition that no medical treatment had been able to fix. For 7 years, she tried everything, from strong medications to alternative therapies, without much improvement. I taught her the nocturnal reprogramming method, asking her each night before sleep to picture her skin perfectly healed, to feel the freshness and softness, and to imagine her doctor confirming the full remission of her condition. I also suggested she add one crucial step, feeling deep gratitude for the healing as if it had already happened. 3 weeks later, her lesions started to fade noticeably. After 2 months, her skin almost looked completely normal again. Her dermatologist was amazed and called it a spontaneous remission. But Maria and I both knew there was nothing spontaneous about it. What Maria and many others have found is that there's a natural healing wisdom inside us, accessible mainly through the subconscious. When you consistently program images of health and perfection before sleep, you activate this inner intelligence, which begins to realign your body and energy toward the ideal you've pictured. There's another part of nocturnal reprogramming that few people know about, the guardian of the threshold technique. This means setting a conscious intention right before sleep for your subconscious to filter out and reject any negative suggestions you might have picked up during the day. Picture a golden light dissolving all limiting programming while strengthening your new positive beliefs. Over the years, I've also noticed that combining nocturnal reprogramming with the first hour after waking completes a powerful cycle of transformation. The waking state is almost as open as the pre-sleep state, so I recommend briefly reviewing the same visualization or affirmation from the night before during those first moments after you wake up. Now, patience and persistence are key. Some people, like Richard and Maria, see dramatic changes in days or weeks. Others, especially when working with deep-rooted patterns, may need months of steady practice. The important thing is to keep faith in the process. knowing that each night you're sending clear instructions deep into your being. One last thing I want to share is what I call sanctuary preparation. Your bedroom, and especially your bed, are the physical spaces where you do this sacred work of reprogramming. Make them places of peace, free from conflict and negative energy. Some of my students even create small personal rituals that signal to their subconscious just how important this moment is. As I finish these thoughts on nocturnal reprogramming, I feel like I've handed you one of the most powerful keys to personal transformation. This knowledge, once only shared in secret among initiates, is now in your hands. Use it wisely and consistently, always remembering that the true temple of transformation lives within you. As night falls over my study and my pen grows heavy, I want to leave you with this final idea. Every sunset is a little symbolic death, a letting go of the conscious state, and every morning is a rebirth. In this endless cycle lies the constant chance to renew yourself. What you plant in the garden of your mind before sleep grows as you rest and blooms when you wake. Night after night, you rewrite the story of your life from the deepest part of your being. But remember, words alone don't have power. It's words filled with feeling that create your reality. In the subconscious realm, emotion is the language that opens all doors. And it's exactly this emotional language, the art of creating powerful affirmations that move the deepest parts of you, that I'll explore more in the pages ahead. There are words that act like keys opening invisible doors inside us. I learned this on a cold night in Boston when an elderly scholar told me he had healed his terminal cancer just by repeating certain phrases. At first, as a young religious scientist, I was skeptical, but his calm gaze showed he'd touched a deep truth. Words, he said, are seeds we plant in the fertile soil of our subconscious mind. And in that moment, I realized I had stumbled on one of humanity's oldest secrets. For years, I watched how my patients and students transformed their lives by using specific verbal formulas. What amazed me wasn't the simplicity of the words, but the invisible shift happening deep inside them. Words spoken with conviction, I now understand, are the most powerful tool we have to rewrite the story of our lives. The subconscious is like a deep lake that takes in everything we throw into its waters. It doesn't distinguish between what's real or imagined, true or false. It simply absorbs and then brings it into being. When I understood this, I began teaching that every habitual thought, every word repeated with feeling, becomes a mold shaping our future experience. I remember Elizabeth, a woman in her middle years who came to me with a chronic illness no doctor had been able to heal. During our sessions, I noticed her inner language was full of harsh phrases. I'll never heal. I'm doomed to this disease. My body is betraying me. I taught her these weren't just observations, but direct orders to her subconscious, like sending commands to an obedient servant who could only carry them out. I suggested an experiment. Replace her negative affirmations with positive statements. But not just any statements. I explained that she needed to phrase them in the present tense with genuine feeling, and repeat them during those sacred moments when the mind is most open, right after waking and just before sleep. My body regenerates perfectly when I wake and before I sleep. Now divine health flows through every cell of my being. I accept complete healing as my natural state. 6 weeks later, Elizabeth came back transformed. Medical tests showed an unexplained improvement. The doctor called it spontaneous remission, but she and I both knew the truth. She had reprogrammed her subconscious mind with new instructions. What I've learned over time is that effective affirmation isn't just mechanical repetition. It's an alignment between word, emotion, and belief. That's why many people fail at it. They repeat empty phrases without the emotional spark that activates the deepest parts of the mind. Each affirmation must be felt as if it's already real. The subconscious doesn't respond to hope or wishful thinking. It responds to absolute conviction. One afternoon, sitting in my study while the rain softly tapped the window, I realized a fundamental truth. The most powerful affirmations are the ones that call forth the divine presence within us. When we say, "The infinite intelligence that created my body now restores it to perfection," we're tapping into a power beyond our conscious limits. This isn't magic, it's spiritual science. The formula I found most effective is surprisingly simple. Start with, "I am grateful because," followed by the desired state, spoken as if it already exists. Anticipatory gratitude is the master key that unlocks manifestation. When you say, "I am grateful because I now enjoy perfect health," you create a full emotional circuit that your subconscious hears as a direct command. The amazing thing is how these words, spoken with faith and feeling, begin to change not just our perception but the very fabric of reality. I've seen fortunes built, relationships healed, and illnesses vanish using this principle. And in every case, it all started with the right words, spoken the right way, at the right time. Ancient Egyptians understood this when they spoke of the creative power of Tod, the god of the word. The Hebrews expressed it when they said, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Mystics from every tradition have taught that naming something with power is the first step toward making it real. One of my students, a university professor and skeptic, decided to try this method to resolve a family conflict that had weighed on him for years. For 21 nights before bed, he repeated with feeling, "Divine harmony now flows through all my family relationships. Where there was conflict, there is now understanding and love." On the 22nd day, he got a call from his brother, whom he hadn't spoken to in 10 years. That was the start of a reconciliation he thought impossible. The subconscious mind is literal. It doesn't understand metaphors or subtle hints. That's why affirmations must be clear, precise, and positive. Never say, "I don't want to be poor," because your subconscious only registers the image of poverty and works to bring it about. Instead, say, "Divine abundance flows to me now from infinite sources." This is the difference between speaking the language of the problem and speaking the language of the solution. When I teach this, people often ask, "How long do I have to repeat my affirmations before I see results?" My answer is always the same: until the affirmation becomes your inner truth. At that point, you're no longer affirming something in the future. You're declaring a present reality your subconscious has fully accepted. And that's when the miracle of manifestation begins. Words are the bridge between the visible and invisible, between what's possible and what's real. Every conscious affirmation sends an instruction deep into your being and brings back a manifested experience. This is the sacred science the ancients knew, but modern life has mostly forgotten in its search for external fixes. But here's something even deeper I found through my research. The most powerful affirmations resonate with the ultimate truth of who we are. When we say, "I am one with the infinite power of the universe," we're not creating something new. We're recognizing an eternal truth that's been hidden by our limited view. So my greatest discovery is that the most powerful words awaken us to who we truly are. Individual expressions of infinite intelligence, eternal travelers in a loving universe that responds to every thought and word. But this awakening doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds slowly, like dawn gently dissolving darkness, revealing a landscape that's always been there, waiting to be seen with fresh eyes. As I write this, I feel my own consciousness expanding as I reflect on the mystery of who I really am, beyond the limits I once accepted as fixed truths. It's in the stillness of night, when the world is asleep, that the most powerful words come to those who know how to listen to silence. And in that silence, I found the deepest secret. True prayer isn't asking an outside power for help. It's recognizing and expressing the divine presence that lives within us. I'll never forget when I first discovered the invisible river that connects our mind with every cell in our body. It happened in a sanatorium outside London, where I went not as a preacher but as a humble observer. A doctor friend invited me to witness something he said modern science couldn't explain. "Come see the inexplicable, Joseph." I went, never imagining that visit would forever change my understanding of the power we all carry inside. It was a simple room. On one of the beds lay a woman whom the best specialists had diagnosed with an incurable degenerative disease. She'd been bedridden for 3 years, wasting away like a candle in the wind, reduced to skin and bones. Medicine had exhausted all its options with her. But that morning her eyes held something I hadn't seen in any other terminal patient. A bright certainty, a deep peace. The night before, she told me, she had a vivid dream where she saw herself walking through a garden overflowing with health. When she woke up, something inside her had shifted. It wasn't an instant physical change, but a shift in her deepest conviction. "I don't feel sick on the inside anymore," she said with a smile. "My body doesn't know it yet, but it will soon." Over the next few days, I watched in awe as her body started to respond. Functions that doctors had declared lost began to come back, first subtly, then with undeniable proof. 6 weeks later, that woman was walking through the sanatorium gardens. What I witnessed wasn't a miracle in the usual sense, but the unfolding of a spiritual law that works inside all of us, even if most people aren't aware of it. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between a vivid mental image and outside reality. For that infinite intelligence running our body's functions, what we truly accept as real becomes the command it follows. For years I studied sacred texts from many traditions, but it was in that hospital room that I fully understood what King Solomon meant when he said, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." The heart he spoke of wasn't the physical organ, but the deep center of consciousness the ancients knew well. The place where mental impressions become physical reality. I remember Robert, an engineer from Detroit, who came to me struggling with chronic dermatitis that no treatment could fix. His skin was literally at war with itself. As we talked, a pattern emerged. Robert was living in constant inner conflict. He hated his job but was afraid to quit. He resented his father but desperately wanted his approval. He longed to express himself freely but held back, fearing rejection. His skin was just showing the state of his divided mind. I gave him a simple practice. Each night before bed, he had to visualize his skin perfectly healthy, feeling deep gratitude for its healing. But more importantly, he needed to forgive himself and everyone he believed had hurt him. "Resentment is poison for the skin," I told him. "Gratitude is the healing balm." 3 months later, his skin had improved by 80%, not because of any miracle cream, but because he had healed the mental image that his subconscious obeyed. What modern medicine is just beginning to recognize. Ancient wisdom traditions have known for thousands of years. The body is the visible expression of our invisible beliefs. Every cell in our body is listening to the silent conversation in our mind. At the deepest level of existence, there's no real separation between thought and matter. Disease isn't random. It's a message, a physical symbol of imbalance in our consciousness. When someone develops cancer after years of holding on to toxic resentment, it's no coincidence. When joints become inflamed in someone who feels rigid and trapped, it's not chance. The body simply reflects what the mind has been rehearsing. My own awakening to this truth came during months when I suffered unbearable headaches that no doctor could explain. I didn't realize it at the time, but those pains reflected my resistance to new spiritual ideas trying to enter my awareness. I was literally resisting changing my mind. When I finally surrendered and accepted the expansion of my spiritual understanding, the headaches vanished like mist before the sun. I write these words not from academic pride, but from the humility of someone who's seen too many impossibilities turn into reality to keep doubting. I've seen tumors disappear when the patient's inner conviction shifted. I've watched devastated immune systems regenerate when people found a new reason to live. I've confirmed how the power of deep belief can change blood chemistry in minutes. The most freeing truth we can understand is this: we're not victims of our bodies, we're their constant creators. Every thought we hold with feeling sends chemical messengers throughout our body. Prolonged fear weakens the immune system. Deep trust strengthens it. Modern science has a fancy name for this: neuropsychoimmunology. But the dynamic is as old as humanity itself. Healing power needs no special talent, just understanding how the mental laws work and a willingness to apply them consistently. It's not magic or superstition. It's as natural as a seed growing when it gets enough water and light. The subconscious mind is like a garden where any seed we plant regularly will grow, whether it's a seed of health or disease. The most amazing thing about this process is how simple it is. We don't need years of training. We just need to learn to speak to our subconscious in the language it understands. The language of vivid emotional impression, steady mental images, and felt conviction. When a sick person truly feels health before it shows up physically, they are activating the same power that grows a whole forest from a tiny seed. Where does this power live? Not somewhere mystical or far away, but in the quiet of our own deep mind, in that ocean of intelligence that connects us to the source of all life. People often ask if there are limits to this healing power. My answer is always the same. The only limits are the ones we set with our beliefs. But I've noticed one thing for sure. The deepest healing happens when we stop desperately chasing it with our ego, and instead allow it through surrender and acceptance. It's a beautiful paradox. When we stop fighting illness and simply open ourselves to the perfection already present at a deeper level, we make room for miracles to happen. True healing isn't so much doing as it is allowing. As I write these words, I know some will dismiss them as the fantasies of a preacher. I don't mind. I've seen too much to doubt. I've held the hands of people who rose from their deathbeds when they found something to live for. I've heard stories from those who rewrote their medical destinies against all odds. And I know with the kind of certainty only direct experience can bring that within each of us lies a healing power beyond anything conventional medicine imagines possible. Maybe the most incredible thing I've discovered is that this power grows stronger when we enter that sacred space between wakefulness and sleep. In those twilight moments when the conscious mind begins to relax and the subconscious gates open, we can plant the most powerful seeds of healing. It's as if, on that threshold, the voice of the infinite becomes clearer, whispering the secrets of a perfection that's always been there, just waiting to be recognized. I still remember the look of the man sitting in the back row at my lecture in Chicago. His eyes showed a mix of hope and despair as I talked about the laws of the mind. When I finished, he came up to me hesitantly. "Reverend Murphy," he said, his voice breaking. "I followed every formula for financial success. I work 18 hours a day, read business books, go to seminars. But prosperity slips through my fingers like water. In his words, I recognized a dilemma that's troubled thousands before him. The belief that wealth is something outside ourselves we have to chase, when really it's a condition that comes from within. I invited him for coffee at a small cafe nearby. Snow was falling softly against the steamed-up windows as I asked him about his childhood. His memories came up like pieces of a shattered mirror. A father who kept saying, "Money doesn't grow on trees." A mother who sighed, "We weren't born with a silver spoon." Teachers who planted the idea that wealth was for the privileged few. Without even realizing it, he had absorbed a scarcity mindset so deeply rooted in his subconscious that all his hard work outside was doomed to fail. What most people don't understand, and what took me years to realize, is that prosperity isn't a bank balance. It's a state of mind. The universe we live in is fundamentally abundant. Just look at nature. One seed can grow into a tree that produces thousands of fruits, each with seeds for thousands more trees. Scarcity doesn't exist on higher levels of being. It exists only in minds conditioned by fear. During my years in Minotaurs, India, I had the honor of studying with a sage who lived in a simple hut on the banks of the Ganges. He barely had enough to get by, but radiated a sense of wealth that many millionaires would envy. One morning, sharing a modest breakfast, he looked me in the eye and said, "Joseph, when a man feels prosperous inside, the universe conspires to make that true in his life." Those words hit me like a revelation. I now understand that each of us carries an invisible mold in our mind, a belief system about money and abundance. This mold formed during our childhood, usually without our conscious awareness, and, like water takes the shape of its container, our financial reality simply reflects the shape of our deepest beliefs. I think of Margaret, a talented designer living on the edge of bankruptcy. Her work was outstanding, but she charged so little she could barely cover rent. During our sessions, a buried belief surfaced in her subconscious. If I get rich, I'll lose my creativity. This idea, planted by an art teacher when she was young, acted like a hidden saboteur. Every time she got close to financial success, her subconscious triggered self-sabotage to protect her artistic gift. I taught her to reprogram that belief with a simple nightly practice. Each night, just before sleep, when the subconscious is most open, she visualized herself enjoying abundant wealth while her creativity flourished, feeling the joy of creating amazing work as she lived in prosperity, combining two ideas she thought were incompatible. 6 months later, she doubled her rates, landed high-end clients, and moved her studio to a place she once thought was out of reach. The hard truth most avoid is this: persistent poverty isn't about money. It's an illness of the imagination. When someone constantly thinks about lack, about limits, and not enough, they're using their mind's creative power to bring exactly that into their life. The subconscious doesn't judge or filter. It simply accepts whatever we feed it with emotional conviction and works non-stop to turn it into reality. Many wonder why some people seem to attract money easily while others struggle their whole lives. The answer is simpler than it seems. The first have a harmonious relationship with wealth. The second wage an unconscious battle against it. I've met people who say they want prosperity but secretly see money as dirty, immoral, or undeserved. That inner conflict creates a force field that pushes away exactly what they think they want. I saw this in my own life for years. Early in my ministry, I preached about divine abundance on Sundays, but spent Mondays stressed about paying bills. My words and feelings were out of sync. Then one dawn, while meditating quietly, I realized I couldn't teach what I didn't fully live. I decided to heal my relationship with money by seeing it not as a goal itself, but as a symbol of exchange. a flow of energy going to those open to receive it. One principle many people don't fully grasp is that wealth flows in direct proportion to the value we bring to others. When someone obsesses about taking without giving, they shut down the cosmic exchange. It's like a lake with an outlet, but no inlet, and eventually, it dries up. I've seen business people completely turn around their finances when they shift their focus from how much can I earn to how much value can I create. This simple change in mindset opens doors to abundance they never knew existed. The subconscious is especially responsive to emotionally charged mental images. One exercise I've taught thousands of people with great success is this. Every morning, spend 5 minutes visualizing yourself living in the prosperity you want. Notice the details, how you dress, where you live, how it feels to see your bank statement. This isn't daydreaming, it's training your deep mind to tune into the frequency of abundance. What we consistently visualize with faith and positive feeling tends to show up in our lives. There's another piece many prosperity teachers leave out. Money responds to our self-esteem. When someone feels unworthy deep down, the universe simply reflects that belief in their outer circumstances. I've known talented, hardworking people who stay stuck in financial mediocrity because, on a deep level, they don't feel deserving of more. Prosperity isn't a prize you have to earn. It's your natural state once you remove the mental block standing in the way. My biggest discovery after decades of research is this. The real poverty is the consciousness of lack, the feeling of, I don't have enough. A man might have millions in the bank, but live in constant fear of losing it all, while someone with modest means feels deeply grateful and sufficient. So who's really rich? It's not about how much you have, but how you relate to what you have. I think of William, an executive who came to me after a crushing bankruptcy. He'd lost his mansion, his luxury cars, his investments. I've lost everything, he told me, eyes empty. I invited him to do a simple exercise. List what he still had. He started with a few things that survived the crash, but soon he was recognizing invisible treasures. His health, his intelligence, his relationships, his skills, his experience. By the end, a light was shining in his eyes. I haven't lost anything essential, he said in wonder. What William realized that day is something we all need to grasp. True wealth is indestructible because it lives in our consciousness. When we live from that place, the outer signs of prosperity follow naturally. They aren't something we desperately chase. Every night in those sacred moments before sleep, I do a ritual that's changed my relationship with abundance. I mentally review all the blessings the universe gave me that day. This simple practice triggers a powerful spiritual law. What we give thanks for multiplies. Conscious gratitude is the gateway to prosperity that goes far beyond just money. It's recognizing we're already incredibly rich in the ways that really count. As you prepare for the next chapter of your life, remember this. The seed of every fortune lies asleep in the secret gardens of your subconscious mind. Water it with thoughts of abundance. Feed it with positive expectations. Protect it from the cold winds of doubt. And watch the miracle that's bound to bloom. But the real miracle isn't the money that comes your way. It's the inner transformation you'll experience when you realize the source of all wealth has always been inside you, waiting to be found in the silence of your heart, where the treasure no thief can steal or storm destroy resides. The mystery of human love has fascinated me since my early days as a young minister, watching couples come to me for guidance. I clearly remember Elizabeth and Thomas, who showed up on a rainy autumn afternoon. Married 8 years, they looked like the perfect couple. Educated, good-looking, successful. But when they sat down, the air between them felt heavy with a sadness so thick you could almost touch it. We love each other, Elizabeth said, voice shaking. But it's like there's an invisible glass wall between us. The harder we try to connect, the more alone we feel. What they were experiencing, and what millions of people experience, isn't a failure of love, but the effect of subconscious patterns running under the surface like invisible, powerful currents. During my studies in India, I began to grasp the real nature of human love. An elderly sage I spent months with said something that changed everything for me. Joseph, we don't see people as they are. We see them as we are. That simple statement holds a truth so deep, I spent years exploring what it really means. What we see in our spouse, lover, or friend is often a reflection of our inner world, shaped by unhealed wounds, expectations, and desires we don't even realize we carry. Why does a smart, beautiful woman keep attracting men who leave her? Why does a kind, honest man keep ending up with partners who betray him? The answer lies in what I call the invisible script, the subconscious program we all carry from childhood that quietly controls the course of our closest relationships. Many don't understand that the subconscious looks for what's familiar, not what's healthy. If we grew up where love came mixed with pain, we unconsciously seek relationships that repeat that pain because it's the only emotional map our deep self recognizes as love. It's a painful paradox. We crave healing while repeatedly recreating the same wounds. During a spiritual retreat in the Colorado mountains, I had a revelation that changed my understanding of love. Sitting by a clear lake, I realized our relationships are like mirrors. We don't attract what we want, but what we are. Each important relationship reflects a part of our consciousness that needs healing or recognition. The people who annoy us most are activating our wounded spots. Those we admire deeply are showing us qualities we have but haven't fully accepted. Over the years, I've seen smart, aware people fall again and again into the same destructive cycles. Michael came to me after his third divorce, feeling crushed and confused. I always end up with controlling women who smother me, he said bitterly. What Michael didn't realize was that his own struggle to set clear boundaries, a habit rooted in growing up with a domineering father, created a gap that naturally attracted people who stepped in to take the control he refused to claim. He wasn't a victim. He was part of creating a dynamic that reflected his unresolved inner conflict. A truth that few people get is that we love others not from our strengths, but from our wounds. The unhealed part of me desperately looks for in you what I think I'm missing. This need-based love builds relationships based on dependency, not mutual joy. It's like two incomplete people expecting the other to fill the gaps, forgetting that true wholeness only comes from within. What many call compatibility issues are actually perfect matches of complementary wounds. The one who fears abandonment finds the one who fears closeness. The person with low self-esteem attracts the one who needs to feel superior. The one who grew up feeling invisible pairs with the one too distracted to truly see their partner. It's no accident. Our subconscious is quietly arranging meetings that promise to heal old wounds, even though they often just replay them. So, how do we break these cycles? The first step is to realize that our patterns aren't random or bad luck. They're clear reflections of our deepest beliefs about what we deserve and what's possible in love. The second step, much harder, is to fully own our part in these patterns, without blaming ourselves or others. When a relationship keeps failing in the same way, it's not the universe working against us. It's our subconscious staying loyal to its programming. One powerful practice I've shared with many is simple but life-changing. Every night before sleep, picture yourself surrounded by respectful, steady, and nurturing love. Feel what it would be like to be treated with unwavering dignity and kindness in every cell of your body. For some, these images are hard to accept at first. They literally can't imagine love without drama or conflict. But over time, as the subconscious takes in this new possibility, it starts showing up in real life. A big realization I had while studying with spiritual teachers in the East is that true love isn't so much a feeling as a state of being. When we act from the wounded ego, the sense of self built around our pain and lack, our relationships turn into transactions. I give, so I get. I need you to complete me. But when we tap into deeper parts of ourselves where we're already whole, love changes from a need into a gift, from a trade into an offering. The subconscious can be our worst saboteur or our greatest ally in this. Each time we respond with awareness instead of reacting from old habits, we create new neural pathways, new possibilities. Each time we see our partner as they truly are, instead of through our distorted expectations, we free both the relationship and ourselves. The practice I've found most transformative is what I call loving from abundance. Before every important interaction, ask yourself, am I coming to this person from my fullness or from my emptiness? Am I trying to get something, or am I already overflowing with who I am? This simple mindset shift can totally change the energy of our relationships. Many people ask if soulmates are real or just a romantic idea. My answer often surprises them. Everyone who crosses our path is, in a way, a soulmate, because they perfectly reflect our state of mind at that time. There's no wrong person. Every relationship is perfect in showing us exactly what we need to see about ourselves. As we raise our vibration, healing old wounds, letting go of grudges, growing self-compassion, people who match that new frequency come into our lives as if drawn by an invisible force. It's not magic, it's the law of the subconscious playing out in human connections. As I write this in the quiet of my study, with evening light coming through the window, I feel deeply that true love begins in those sacred moments when we dare to face our shadows with kindness, when we choose healing over blame, and when we realize that the most important relationship we'll ever have is the one with the invisible parts of our own soul. Because in that silence, true love is waiting to be found, not as something we have to search for in someone else, but as the essence of who we already are. I've always believed that most of our intelligence lies hidden beneath the surface of consciousness, like an iceberg showing just its tip while hiding its real power deep below. I remember one early morning in Dublin when, as a young student, I woke up suddenly with a strong feeling. I had to see my mother right away. There was no message or call, I just knew. That morning I dropped my schoolwork and went to her, finding her very sick. Doctors later said my visit was providential. Coincidence? After decades studying the mind, I know it was much more than that. That experience planted a seed of knowledge in me that has grown over the years. The subconscious isn't just a storage of memories or a system running automatic body functions. It's a receiver and transmitter of intelligence that goes beyond our physical and time limits. It's always communicating with us, though we rarely notice. While traveling in India, I met an elderly yogi living simply by the Ganges. Over a modest breakfast, he told me, "Intuition isn't a sixth sense. It's the first sense, and the other five are just its physical extensions." This changed how I see things. What we call intuition is really our subconscious mind talking directly to the universal intelligence that flows through everything. Our conscious mind, with its endless noise and obsession with analysis, often drowns out intuition's subtle voice. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a noisy room. But when we quiet the noise inside, we start to hear messages that were always there, waiting to be noticed. I've noticed that intuition shows up differently for different people. For some, it comes as a physical feeling, a warmth in the chest, a tightening in the stomach, or a sudden release of tension. For others, it shows up as quick mental images loaded with meaning. Many experience it as an inner voice so clear and distinct, it almost feels external. And for some, it's just a sudden knowing. No words, no pictures, just an undeniable awareness. The biggest mistake we make is trying to overthink these signals, putting them through the filter of logic before letting them speak for themselves. Intuition comes from a deeper place than reason. It taps into information beyond what our physical senses pick up or what our conscious mind can handle. I remember a businessman who came to me about what looked like a perfect investment. The numbers made sense, the forecasts were solid, and all the experts agreed it was a good move. Yet something inside him kept nagging at him in a way he couldn't explain logically. When I asked, "What does your body tell you when you think about this investment?" he said, "It's weird. I feel like something is pulling me back, almost physically." I told him to trust that feeling, even though everything else said otherwise. 6 months later, he called me, grateful. The company had collapsed because of things no one could have predicted. What he experienced wasn't luck or superstition. His subconscious picked up on subtle clues his conscious mind missed. Small inconsistencies in presentations, body language that didn't match words, behavior that just felt off. All of that was instantly processed by his subconscious and turned into that gut feeling that made him pull away. Intuition isn't mystical or supernatural. It's a natural, powerful function of our superconscious mind, that part of our awareness beyond the ego that connects us to universal wisdom. It's part of being human, as natural as breathing. But in a world obsessed with science and logic, we've pretty much ignored this basic part of our intelligence. One thing many overlook is how intuition relates to time. The superconscious mind isn't limited by our usual sense of time. It can access information about future events, not by predicting the future like a crystal ball, but by seeing patterns and possibilities unfolding right now. It's like a skilled gardener who can look at a seed and picture the plant it will become. I've met plenty of people who've had vivid premonitions of accidents, illnesses, or crises before they happened. These experiences can be confusing or unsettling. I explained that these aren't supernatural powers, but reflections of the space-time continuum our superconscious mind can tap into when the ego's walls come down a bit. Sometimes intuition shows up in dreams, the night messengers that reveal truths our waking mind isn't ready to face. I've kept a dream journal for decades, jotting down every fragment I remember each morning. This simple habit has uncovered amazing patterns and offered priceless guidance when I needed it most. Dreams are the subconscious speaking its native language, full of symbols, metaphors, and raw emotion. People often ask, how do I tell real intuition from wishful thinking or fear? It's a crucial question, because not every gut feeling deserves our trust. I've found 3 helpful signs. True intuition usually comes with calm, even if the message is tough. It keeps showing up until you pay attention. And it doesn't carry the anxious, obsessive energy that fear or greed create. Famous scientists and inventors have openly credited intuition for their biggest breakthroughs. Einstein said he didn't come up with a theory of relativity through pure logic, but through an intuitive insight he later proved mathematically. Intuition isn't the enemy of reason. It's its perfect partner, working together in the dance of discovery. Reason confirms what intuition reveals. Meditation is one of the best ways to develop intuition, not because it creates it, but because it clears away what blocks it. When we quiet the constant chatter of the conscious mind, we make room to hear the subtle signals from the subconscious. It's like turning down a loud radio so you can hear a distant bird singing. Another method I've recommended to thousands with great success is what I call conscious dialogue with the subconscious. Before you go to sleep, ask your inner intelligence a clear question and ask it to answer. Then let it go completely. Over the next few days, stay open and alert. Answers often pop up in surprising moments, while showering, walking, or doing routine tasks when your conscious mind is partly distracted. What most people don't realize is that our intuition is constantly receiving and processing info from both the outer world and our inner world, beyond what we normally notice. Recent science confirms what ancient sages always knew. Our gut, the enteric nervous system, is like a second brain. It processes info and reacts independently from the brain in our head. So when we talk about gut feelings, we're describing real neurological facts, not just a figure of speech. Tonight, as you get ready to sleep, try this. Ask yourself which part of your life needs more attention and clarity. Let that question rest calmly in your mind. Don't try to force an answer. Just trust that the intelligence inside every cell of your body already knows the way. Over the next days, keep all your senses, especially that first sense we call intuition, open to the messages that will start showing up in your life. Just as we learn to hear the subconscious, we also discover the voice of the infinite speaking through what seem like random moments in our lives. For years, I thought the hardest part was learning to use the mind's power. But over time, I realized something more subtle and more dangerous. Invisible blocks. It's not what you don't know that destroys a mind, but what you think you know that's wrong. Ignorance doesn't break us. It's the false beliefs we silently repeat every day. Those beliefs, guilt, doubt, fear, resignation, undermine even our highest spiritual efforts. I see it every day. People who say the right things but feel something different inside, who picture their dreams but feel unworthy, who repeat affirmations while still carrying the weight of their past. Let me be clear, the subconscious isn't guided by what you say. It's guided by the emotions you're really feeling. You can say, "I am abundant," 100 times a day, but if you're feeling anxious, stressed about debt, or ashamed as you say it, that's what your subconscious will latch on to. And then you wonder why nothing changes. I remember a woman who came to me years ago. She had memorized my affirmations perfectly, but her voice shook when she said them. Her eyes showed fear. "I try, but I just don't feel like I deserve it." That was the real issue. Not the words, but the buried feelings that were undermining the process. That made me dig deeper into the common mental blocks that stop the subconscious from doing its work. Here are the biggest ones. Unconscious guilt, feeling unworthy because of past mistakes. Guilt is stuck energy that taints every affirmation and visualization. When the subconscious senses that weight, it shuts down change. The fix isn't saying affirmations harder. It's forgiving yourself on a deeper level. Fear dressed up as logic. Lots of people rationalize their fear by telling themselves they're being realistic, or that it's better not to get their hopes up. That's not being practical. That's defensive programming. The subconscious hears, "I don't want this to happen," and obeys. Chronic doubt. Nothing kills progress faster than constant doubt. Doubt creates confusion, and the subconscious can't act when it's confused. You need faith, even if it's just a tiny seed. One sincere affirmation said with belief beats 1,000 half-hearted ones. Resentment. Holding onto anger or blame blocks your mind, not because those feelings are evil, but because they drain your energy. A mind busy with hate or grudges can't build anything new. Forgiveness isn't for others. It frees your own inner flow. Desperate impatience. People who want instant results send a message of distrust. The subconscious needs time and repetition, but also rest. Like a seed, you need water and fertile soil. You're not failing, you're growing. All these blocks come from one source: being out of touch with your inner self. When you're not at peace inside, your subconscious becomes a stormy field, and nothing can take root in a storm. So before you affirm, visualize, or declare something, pause, breathe, and ask, am I really at peace? Do I truly believe this is possible for me? If the answer is no, don't push it. First, heal your feelings, because your subconscious doesn't need loud commands. It needs harmony. Today, I invite you to clear your inner channel. Stop adding noise. Remove what clutters, forgive what weighs you down, and let go of what holds you back. Only then, with calm emotion, repeat your truth. Because one affirmation spoken with love can move mountains inside you. The subconscious is fertile ground, but before you plant anything, clear the soil. That's the secret almost nobody talks about. And maybe that's why you're here. Now you know. And in the next chapter, I'll explain why positive thoughts alone aren't enough. You have to connect with the divine, and that's where real power starts. Sometimes people ask me if the subconscious is just part of the mind, a kind of automatic machine that runs habits and beliefs silently in the background. I tell them, no, the subconscious isn't just mind. It's God's whisper inside you. It took me years to understand this. At first, I thought reprogramming thoughts, swapping negatives for positives, repeating affirmations, and visualizing would be enough. And yes, that helps. But there's something deeper you can't control. Only remember, your subconscious is the bridge between you and the divine. I'm not talking about religion, no dogma, temples, or names. I mean that quiet place inside where your soul talks to its source. A place beyond words, but full of knowing. I remember a quiet afternoon by the California coast, watching waves flow in and out as if guided by an unseen force. Inside me, I felt the same rhythm. My breath, my thoughts, my feelings moving like waves powered by something greater. At that moment, I realized my subconscious wasn't just serving me, it was connected to an infinite source. Some call it God, others call it universal energy, others simply call it love. Have you ever wondered where those deep gut feelings come from? The voice that says, don't go there, or trust, even if it doesn't make sense. That's not luck or logic. It's the divine speaking quietly through your subconscious. That's why I always say, don't fight your mind. Don't force it. Don't yell orders expecting instant results. Instead, create a sacred space inside, turn down the noise, and listen. When you listen with an open heart, your subconscious will speak. And when it does, it's not your ego talking. It's the voice of God disguised as a thought. After working with thousands of people, healing, attracting love, changing lives, the most beautiful moment is when someone says, I don't feel alone anymore. Now I know something inside me is guiding me. That's sacred. That's the real miracle. It's not about manifesting a house or a job. It's about knowing your life has direction, and that direction comes from within. Your subconscious isn't a tool. It's a presence that walks with you. It never sleeps, remembers even what you forget, holds your childhood, your dreams, your prayers. When you learn to love it, when you stop treating it like a machine and see it as a temple, everything changes. You don't repeat affirmations out of anxiety anymore. You speak them with reverence. You don't visualize from a place of lack. You imagine like someone who's praying. You don't act from desperation. You act from trust. That's how your connection with the divine begins. Not outside, not above, not in others, but inside you. In that invisible space where thought meets faith, and faith turns into certainty. Your subconscious is the altar, your intention the offering, your faith the flame, and God quietly receives it all and transforms it into life. Now you see. You don't need to do more. Just remember, in the final chapter, I'll share the most powerful ritual I've found to align your mind with the miracle of each day. Because if the subconscious is God's voice, then your life can be His masterpiece, and you still have time to rewrite it. It's not about what you know, but what you do with what you know. After all these years, after so many letters and lives touched, it's clear that true power isn't just understanding the subconscious. It's practicing a daily communion with it. I call this the sacred ritual of rewriting your life. Life may seem written in permanent ink, but I promise you, you can rewrite it, and you can start today. When I realized the subconscious is like fertile soil, I understood I had to plant in it every day. Not just sometimes, not only when I felt lost, but as a sacred habit, a way of living. That's how this simple yet powerful ritual was born. I want you to take it as if I'm leaving it here on these last pages, the key that sums up everything I've learned. Now is the moment to pick up the invisible pencil of consciousness and start writing your destiny. Step 1. The silence of night. Each night before sleep, quiet the noise of the day. Turn off the outside world, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Don't think, just breathe. Your subconscious opens when you calm down. It's right on the edge of sleep that the inner doors open most easily. Step 2. Affirm with emotion, not empty words. Don't just say words to say them, feel what you're saying. The subconscious responds to feeling, not effort. Affirm in the present tense and with certainty, as if it's already true. I am loved, I'm guided, I am prosperous, I am free. But above all, feel it's true. It doesn't matter if your rational mind says, "That's not real." Logic doesn't create your reality. Emotion does. Step 3. Visualize effortlessly. Imagine scenes that show what you want to live, but don't do it from anxiety. Do it like a child playing or someone watching an exciting movie. Notice how you smile, how you give thanks, how everything flows. See the details, hear the voices, feel the joy, and then let it go. Offer that image to your subconscious like a seed planted in fertile soil. Step 4. Clean your field before sleeping. Internally say, I forgive all, I release all, I surrender to peace. Don't let the day end with anger, guilt, or judgment. Those feelings poison the inner field where you want to plant. Nightly forgiveness is the compost that nourishes your soul's seed. Step 5. Awaken with intention. When you wake up, don't jump out of bed. Remember who you are. Not your name or your problems, but consciousness in action, empowered to create. Whisper softly, today will be a day of miracles, because the greatest miracle is my awareness of who I am. This ritual takes less than 10 minutes, but if you do it every day with devotion and patience, you'll see the world start moving in your favor. Not because you're forcing the universe, but because you're in harmony with it. You stop struggling and start creating. The power of your subconscious isn't in noise, but in the silence where you plant with faith. It's not in memorization, but in what you truly believe. And now, dear reader, you know. You can keep living by chance, or you can wake up each day like you're entering an inner temple to lovingly rewrite the story you want to live. You don't have to change everything at once. Just shift your inner energy and keep it alive. And if you ever forget this power, come back to this book. Come back to yourself, because you are the temple, the creator, the channel, and your mind is the brush with which God paints your life.